All right, we will call this meeting to order. How's everybody this morning? All right, good. Go ahead and find a seat and get your paperwork out and your notes and your pens and all that. I'm Brian Bross. I'm the immediate past council chair, and I'm also GMT for District 9 SE, and our district governor is Mike Rinkin. He couldn't be here this morning. He's got a death in the family. I would like to just briefly we'll just kind of go around the room and do some quick introductions. We'll just start at this table. We'll work our way back. Just tell us who you are, club, district, and your role. Cool.
I'm I'm also from the Elvis Lions. I'm currently the first vice president of the Elvis Lions. And I've been a member of the Lions for almost 29 years. And going into next fiscal year, 23-24, I'm going to be running for second vice president.
All right, good job. All right, we'll go to this next table. Okay, our council chair. All right.
Charter member or Charter 74. We got a few years past council chair back way back.
Okay. Ed? All right. Jack. Good. Doug.
I'm Doug Welcome from the New Hampshire Lions Club, Northeast District. I'm serving as the local district GMT, along with other committees and things that I want to.
All right, cool. Bruce?
I'm Bruce Beal. I'm from the Denver Club. I'm in 9 Northeast. I am the first vice district governor.
All right, very good. We'll go to Judy. Oh, yeah.
I've been a Lion for about 5 years. I am our serving membership director, and I've been that for 3 years. And this year I am a vice president.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Judy?
I'm Judy Stone, and I'm your state secretary.
All right. Paul?
I'm Paul Hewitt. I'm immediate past district governor at 90C. I'm also the MP9 Leo Lion Young Lions chair.
Amy Rocker, I'm the current district governor and member of the Blue Lions.
Okay. Pat?
Pat Parker, I'm the president of the Northern Lions Club. I'm the past council chair. Currently for 9 Southwest, I am the GST. Actually, I think I'm representing 9 Southwest today, covering for our team. And then my wife is in the kitchen, Melanie Parker, who's a member of our club, and she's putting the lunch together today. And the lunch today will be a free will offering, and the money from the free will offering will go to the Iowa Lions Foundation.
Very good.
Mark Miller from the Cedar Falls Lions Club. Started at some more dollars will go that way. And zone chair for zone 5 and 9 Northeast. And vice president of both, so I'll be second to
All right. Dale?
Dale Schreiber, Cedar Falls Lions, district governor for 9 Northeast this year.
All right. Great. You're up.
Sean Sherman, GMA Lions Club, GST and zone chair for 9C.
All right. Paul?
Paul Hayden, Liberty Lions Club, GST for Southeast and West Pass.
Cindy? And Cindy, you're selling raffle tickets for what now? Okay. Okay, good. Stan. Okay. Go ahead, Terry. Yep.
Terry Durham, I'm a past council chair from way back when I was on our skin over there. And I'm currently the president of the Iowa Lions Foundation.
Very good. Okay, I will introduce Eric here, but before I do that, I want to tell everybody we are recording this, but you're not being recorded. I'm aiming it up here, and we have lapel mic for whoever's going to speak. Please use the mic so I capture it on the computer. But without further ado, we'll get started here. Eric Strimple is our area GAT leader for 1J. I didn't know we were in 1J, but we're in 1J. So he's from the Eudora Lions Club in Eudora, Kansas, and he's been a Lion since 2017. So he's a baby lion too. Yes. So it doesn't matter what age lion, you're a lion from beginning to end, right? So in 2022, he had the opportunity to work with the international president and vice presidents, along with a small number of fellow zone chairs in Constitutional Area 1, to complete a pilot of the NAMI, the North America Membership Initiative, now the Global Membership Approach process. Following the pilot, he served in his district as the GMA champion last year, and his district ended with a plus 21 in net members. So with that, let's give Eric a round of applause. And are you up first? All right. You're up first, right? Oh, we should do that. All right. Let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and well, don't be seated. Stan, would you lead us in prayer?
Sure. Council Chair was good.
Oh, who was? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not following the agenda at all today. Please do.
Let's pray. Lord God, we give you thanks that we can gather here today to share our passion as Lions. We pray especially for Mr. Governor Mike Renton and his death of the family. We pray especially for P.I.D. Thompson, who is unable to attend for health reasons. We give thanks that Eric has traveled to us safely this day. We ask your blessing on us this day, that all we do and say will be done in the manner that is pleasing to you. Amen.
All right. Be seated. Yes.
I got one more.
Yes.
The blue cooler in the back has ice water in it and tea, and if you start running out of water, there's more water on the counter to put in. There's enough water and tea there for everybody to have about 3 apiece today. So if there's 20 back there, you can
Yeah.
go get it.
So go ahead and have seated. Be seated. I want to go over a couple more rules. Go ahead and be seated. Okay. First of all, you need to ask questions. So don't forget to ask questions. No dumb question unless you don't ask it. That's a dumb question if you didn't ask it. So you need to ask it. 2, you need to have fun. All right. Okay. So just, like me, I'm making all these mistakes, making it up as I go. That's kind of what I do a lot of times. Right. And number 3, roll with it. All right. How about that? So you're up. And maybe just kind of stay in this vicinity. Well, you can hold it. I just need to be able to hear you in the computer.
I don't know that anybody has ever heard me. Good morning, and thank you all for coming today. I'm going to give you a little background to how we got here. we all heard about the ugly connotations that goes with redistricting. And I kept hearing a lot of negative feedback. You know, President Sheehan doesn't like this, President Sheehan doesn't like that. But I wasn't hearing, okay, here's what we should do instead. So in a conversation I had with a past council chair from Nebraska, I learned that Brian Sheehan was going to be the guest speaker at the Nebraska State Convention in May. So I made a road trip to Nebraska. And luckily, I had the opportunity to sit down and do a one-on-one with, at the time, Vice President Brian Sheehan. And I showed him everything that we had done in our redistricting and all our analysis and where we were going and why we were doing that. And he looked at me and he said, if you can do that for 4 districts, why can't you do that for 7? I didn't have an answer. So here we are. And he went over the global membership approach. He pointed out things that worked and tough decisions. Really, this is what this comes down to. There are a lot of tough decisions that have to be made here. I've heard the expression, and it came from somebody else, so I'm not going to take credit for it. In a lot of our cases, we have to change the carpet and repaint the walls. Same old, and you expect a different outcome. That's what we have to do. Give ourselves a lobotomy, and let's move on. Okay, so with that being a given, let's start with where we are right now. And you've all seen these things. There's our membership totals from 2015 to today. And if I'm standing in front of you, I apologize. Move over here. How's that? See, I'm not as sure as you thought I was. Yeah, would you please? And this is nothing new to anybody. Do we all understand this? Go ahead and go to the next one. Break it down by our districts. Some of us have taken bigger hits than others. Right now, we have 19 counties out of 99 that have no clubs, 0 clubs. Of the counties that do have clubs, almost every single one of them has a club in the county seat. That's a target. That's something you need to remember when you start going into these counties that don't have clubs in them. That's something you need to think about. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, here's the facts. How did we get here? And this is not just, you know, those of us who have been in the room. We've been on a downturn for 40 years in the United States, unfortunately. And we've been taking a pretty good hit. And you all know that we're making some big changes at the state office. And during that process, I'm consolidating down a lot of our data. We have 3 filing cabinets that have council meeting minutes in them that date back to the 1940s. Some of them are so old, they're starting to fade. I can't read them anymore. I pulled out a piece of paper and I started reading it because it happened to, the conversation was about past international director Norm Dean. And I'm rather fond of Norm, and I cherish him as a mentor and some of his advice, so I wanted to read what it was about. In 1986, we had 16,700 Lions in the state of Iowa. Today, we have 6,800. In this minute, Norm was talking about a goal he had set at the beginning of that Lions year, that every single district, and there were 9 districts at that time, would create 2 new clubs. And the bottom line was he was congratulating them because at that point in time, at that council meeting, every district had created 4 new clubs. What happened? Where did we go? Society. A lot of it is societal changes. Parents and families and young families of today are not like we were when my kids were young. My son is 45 years old. To kids today, and he doesn't run his household the way I ran the household when he was in it. So it's things that we have to think about. But those are the do's and the don'ts. We have to make those tough decisions. The same old, and my district is no different than anybody else's. If you take the last 10 years, who's, I can pretty much guarantee you without opening the book,
I know who's been in charge in a place and position in every single district. Is that what we need to continue to do? Same old, and you're expecting a different outcome. I'll bet you 10 to 1, if I went into Northwest, which right now Northwest is in pretty rough shape. Their membership is down in the 600s. They've got 30 clubs. So they need help up there. We need teams to go up in there and help them do exactly what we're going to recommend that you do in all your other districts. So if I were to take myself and to go into a district I'm unfamiliar with and people I've not met before, I'm going to carry myself a little bit differently. I'm going to address things a little bit differently. And maybe that's what I need to do, because I'm one of those faces that's been in a position for at least the last 5 years in 9MC. So maybe I need to look and learn and do something a little bit differently. Maybe we all need to think and be a little bit more open-minded about it. Okay, so let's move forward. Like there again, the tough decisions that have to be made. Maybe we do need to step back and let somebody else come in. Maybe that younger person needs to have an opinion. If we don't give them a voice, they're going to walk away and they're not coming back. So maybe we do need to step back and just be a mentor instead of having a title. Okay, accept the offer of help. If you're going to go into another district and you're going to change faces, you have to be willing to listen. You have to be open-minded about what's coming at you. It has to be accepted by the people in Northwest. You can't just walk into Northwest and start doing things. The people that are in Northwest have to be involved in the situation. We have to ask their opinion. They know their district better than we do. And then offer some advice to them. Maybe something a little bit different than what they've been hearing in the past. This meeting, or this Lion Year, is not where this ends. If we're going to make the effort to change the way we think and act, we have to make it a long-term commitment. This is the way we're going to be a lion in the future. And I don't care what your title is. This is the way you're going to be a lion going forward if we're going to survive. It's that simple. Okay, let's move on. Okay, where do we want to be? Is one plus one for the whole multiple district enough? No. No, it's not. Your district may be different than that district over there. But we have to set those goals. They have to be attainable. You have to get there. I'm trying to think, what's that word? SMART goals. There we go. All right, let's move on. Okay, and how do we get there? All the tools have been provided for us. It's been out there on LCI's website for several years. If you go to, you can go to IE. Yeah, come out of here. It said escape. I think it's down there. Right there. When you log into my LCI, lionsclubs.org, when you log in, there's a module, my LCI, my Lion, I'm trying to forget, Insights, Learn. Go to Learn, go to the current library and put in Global Membership Approach. It's a 75-minute video. You can stop and start it whenever, as many times as you like. You can put it into your favorites and go back and look at it 15 times. But it lays out the entire process, puts it in plain English, simple. Take the time to learn about it. I know a lot of our districts, not every district is in the same place in this process. Some of us have already built our plan, our vision, where we want to be, and we've started implementing a plan. So nobody is in the same spot in this process, and that's fine. If you're there in your district, go for it, run for it. But if you haven't started this, take the time to do some catch-up. Get up to speed on this. Learn about it. Go through the steps, and then bring it back and implement it with yourselves. If nothing else, after we leave here today, and the teams that you build, within your district, whether it's a new club group or it's a retention group, or Pat's going to tell you about using the recruiting wheel and the community assessment form, whatever group you end up being on in your district, or however your district lays out its groups, take the time to learn about it. All the resources are out here. If it's available to you, take the time to learn about it. It has to become the way we do Lions. It's that simple. Okay, I think that was the last slide I had, wasn't it? Is it? Yes. Questions? Okay, no, yes. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you were from Dubuque area.
No,
Okay.
originally from around Carroll. So, a big town called Maple River.
Maple River? Okay.
It's got 2 bars.
Yeah.
One of the things that has happened in Northwest Iowa, as I drive through Northwest Iowa, I see all these things, and I really feel sorry for the leadership in Northwest Iowa. Because in Northwest Iowa, you've had consolidation of schools, consolidation of farms, you've had
Yes.
taking away the railroads in some of those areas.
Yep.
As you drive through some of these little towns, half the houses are empty.
That's right.
Schools are falling down,
Yes, they are.
and it's really
Yes.
the Lions. You used to have Lions Club in the town like they
Yeah.
along 141.
Yep.
They're no longer there.
Yep.
The towns aren't even there.
Yeah.
And the population is dropping. And I cannot see where that district could possibly double its membership.
I don't know. Well, there's a good part of this of what you will learn. Don't set a goal that's not attainable. Maybe doubling the district is not the number that you want to look at. Maybe increasing it by 100 or 200 or whatever is a more viable thing. Maybe adding 3 clubs instead of 10. Don't set a number that's not attainable. Yes, Pat?
But if we talk Northwest, as Judy said, we have 19 counties in the state without clubs.
Right.
8 of those are Northwest.
Yep.
So even if we start with 1 club in each of those counties, that's 8 more clubs up there, and at 20, that's 160 new members up
That's
there in
right.
that area. That would be an awesome start up there.
It would be. It would be. And there's something to be said for that. Hold on just a minute. Hold that thought, Paul. On Wednesday night, I was in a little town, I'd never heard of it before, called Rudd. It's just outside, yes, in your district. On December of 2021, EF1 tornado hit their community, took out their library, sat right in the middle of town. So District 9 North Central applied for a disaster grant, and they were given $5,000 from LCIF, and they purchased 7 computers that will eventually go back into the new $700,000 library in a community of 359 people. And it happened because, just like you said, school district. A few years back, the school district between Rockford and Rudd, the school district went to Rockford. So, and the concern for Rudd is, Rockford's only 5 miles away, but it is across a 4-lane highway called 18. They do not want their children going that far on their own to a library. That's why the library is so important in a community of 359 called Rudd. By the time we left there the other night and the radio stations got done with us, we had signed up people in a town of 359 to put a club back in there that went away. And even if we don't get the small community miles, there are 3 other Lions Clubs that they could be a branch off of. Yeah. So the club has to go into. Other questions? Yes, Paul.
So I can give you a little bit of insight. Grading goes back in 10 through 12. The club I was with, Storm Lake, they folded, like 3 years after I came back here, after I was done with college. And Storm Lake's 12,000 people. There's no reason why there can't be a club there. Like Spirit Lake, no reason there can't be a club there. I mean, all those towns along the Iowa Minnesota border, there's no reason why there can't be a club there. The problem is, I think, is there's no clubs around it to sponsor. I think that's a big issue in Northwest. The closest club might be Orange City, which is maybe 75 miles away. So that might be part of the deal, but Northwest is just so sparse that trying to find sponsored clubs is going to be very difficult.
Right.
And so we're going to have to really, I think leadership first before membership might be the thing for Northwest, is to focus on their DLT stuff there. Because if they have no leaders, then they're not going to start clubs, it's not going to get memberships. So maybe with Northwest, we need to focus on their leadership first, then maybe membership can start rolling.
Been working on leadership up there for 3 years.
Yeah. Make that commitment to help on that team, spend the time and the legwork up there, it's not going to, that commitment is going to be long-term. You're going to be back in there visiting those clubs. You may be a guiding lion to a club that's 100. Starting today doesn't. This is
The only, we've been focused here on Northwest, I think we can multiply that times 6 more districts, got the same damn problem as far as I'm concerned. Paul, you mentioned leadership. Has every district got all of their zone chairs, their GLTs, GSTs, all that? No. No, we need to look inward as well in our own districts.
Yep.
And quit pointing the finger at Northwest. Now, I would grant Northwest has got dry rot and leadership issues up there. We have other districts that have dry rot in their leadership past. You mentioned the fact that we keep doing it over and over and over and over and over. And we're maybe holding back people. No, we're not holding back people. We got to motivate people. That as at the membership level to move up.
Right.
Because people like me or people like, Brian, whatever, LCI has now stopped us from becoming district governors all over again. I believe last year was the last year that that taking place.
Yeah.
We have.
Next year, it's zone chairs too.
And zone chairs, exactly. So, we need to look at ourselves as well as other districts.
But here's I'm going to the politically incorrect statement, so I don't mind saying this. I just finished doing the who's who. Sent it off to the publisher. You know how many names I didn't have to change? There isn't one district in this room that didn't have same old, same old, same old. I'm very proud of the fact that yes, Cindy.
I was a zone chair last year. First time, kind of going in blind. But I didn't know that I was supposed to have several meetings and so forth. I tried really hard to get the clubs in my zone. To come to a meeting. And I was told by somebody who's been around for a long time, because I got really frustrated. Wasn't hearing back from anybody, I couldn't get anybody to commit, even to send 2 people to a zone meeting. And I was told, well, you gotta babysit. And I'm saying, I'm not a babysitter.
No, you're not. No, you're
That's
not.
why it's so hard
Right.
to get zone chairs.
Here's something that I suggest, I started doing it myself, and I kind of found out that it worked to a certain extent, so I've tried to extend it a little bit and share it in my district. When I couldn't get, like, same thing as you can't get people to come to, I went to a zone meeting in Tipton week or so ago on a Saturday morning, and there were 10 people in the room. He did it. And Tiffany's got 80 members in the club itself, let alone the other ones. But here's what I started doing. And when I'm going to go visit a club in my district, in my zone area, I call a couple of other people from this club, and I pick them up and I take them with me. So at least you've got two clubs that are in each other's face. At least you're reaching out. Once they realize that there's an open conversation to have, and oh, hey, they're doing some pretty neat things, I might want to hear about that, it's going to get shared. And we have to get the door back open. We've closed the door and we stay within our own community and here, okay?
So open the door and ask them to come along with you. Started doing it with people, your zone chairs, and taking them with me when I before. Yeah.
You talk about why we're here or how we get here. The other thing that we need to keep in mind is we cherish the fact that we have past international directors as part of Iowa.
Yeah.
But we've got to a point right now that if we don't make changes, we're not going to have that opportunity going forward. Right now, 6 of our 7 districts are considered transitional or close to it, who cannot put an ID candidate forward. And the last district, which is mine, Southwest, bounces back and forth whether we are or we aren't, depending on the day.
You work for about 8 hours.
Yes, some days we're at 12:53, some days we're under 12:50, and right now we're in the 12:50s. But we got a 14-member club that is folded and we gotta take off. So we're gonna drop under. So if we want to have a voice at the international level, we have to make changes.
One of the things that I did, because it's inherent in the way we do business, right? If you look at the club list, the district listing, and what our loss is now, with a minus of 12 or 13. But the time, you have to look at the way we do business. You're going to that's your first or second week of July. These people, so July they delete all the others. So that's not. When we built, they were all based on September. In the middle of a 6-month period before or after getting a dues statement is where we pulled the figures from. So you have to look at that part of it and don't get shocked by the fact that you're down by 12 members and everybody else may be enough time. But I don't care how you look at it, how many years you go back. Any other questions? Oh.
Yep, that's it. This for our district for our membership chairs. So this is well, we're what I'm going to talk about is what it is that can fulfill all the needs of that community. In our district, big one's clear. 170 members in a little town of 350 or whatever it is, but they're big things. They focus on their community. And so who be successful, this is district team leader. Be the district governor, it may be somebody else. You should have a global leadership team person, chairperson, a global service chairperson, your district governor team with your district governor. You have them, your zone chairs. But some get teams behind them. Council, we had a success behind. We don't quite. As a district, what we should be doing is helping new members and mentor new members. And as we running the recruiting wheel, it's not as simple as just meeting with your club one time and running the recruiting wheel. Before you run the recruiting wheel, and we'll talk about through this, the club and figure out why they're where they're at, and then have some discussion. Okay. But once we give them the orientation and let's get those new members involved. We lose a lot of members because they join the club doesn't get them involved, and we lose them within the first 3 years. We went through all the work to get them, but we didn't even get to keep them. Okay. Okay. Head and side. Okay. Like you want somebody to join, stop and think about the that you have. You have an event in your community, whether it's a pancake breakfast or something else. And in the back is Tom and John talking, whether the pancake makes it to Nick or Tuesday, and everybody can hear. And people remember why they're back on the pancake mix. Where they're at for a reason, and we need to figure out what the reason is. The leadership of the club, is it the lack of service projects? Is it just the members themselves can't get along? Things we need to talk about. Many clubs I've visited are looking for ideas of how they could serve their community. A lot of our clubs have got in the habit, they become check writing clubs. And I've watched it in my club over the years. As we become a check writing club, our membership goes down. As we get out in our community and do more, our membership goes back up. So give them different things. It's the district team visiting different clubs. What other clubs are doing? Just because it works in one town doesn't mean it'll work in another. With ideas. Club members will make a difference to how it does. Like to be successful. For what now? 30 years, 30 plus. In the club community, are you doing projects that your members want to do? As I work to rebuild teams, and went into new clubs to rebuild them, the first thing I look at the existing members there, I go, so you're currently 5 members. If we grow you to 20, you're going to be outnumbered. Are you prepared to do this new service projects and new ideas that these new members are bringing in? Because if you're not, then we're wasting our time. Okay. Assessment is part of that sitting down with the club and figuring out what's working, what's not. And what we found in our district, if somebody from district could come in and help the club do this and collect the answers, we do. In most clubs, the secretary's been the secretary. Well, Tom's not going to tell you how he really feels because he knows Joe, the secretary, is going to know his handwriting. They're going to know I said it. But if an outsider calculates it and then brings answers, they don't know who said it. Afterwards. Those are the things. Service communities. Okay, one of the things, we have a large number of members that drop in the district, and when you look at international, it says dropped in good standings. Why'd they leave? Was it a conflict with the club? Was it that they didn't feel they were being used properly? Was it the fact that maybe they're busy and right now doesn't work? We've had some members, I know in my club, who can't make the meetings, and they've sent us letters, well, I really can't help with this, and I think I need to resign, and we've sent back and said, we'd like you to reconsider that. We got it, you can't attend all the meetings. We got it, you can't help with all our service projects. But by you being a member and paying your dues, you help our club maintain a certain number, and through our dues, we do make donations to the foundation, so you are making a difference even if you're not there. So we of that. Out to those, bring it back, and as a club, look at that and see. 10 years ago, I was a write-in candidate for mayor in my town. Controversial thing, I didn't run for it, the group put it in, but as soon as I won, we lost a member of the club. He was a council member, and the write-in campaign went against it. Things happen. As long as I'm a member of the club, he probably won't come back. I got it, I understand. That's why we encourage you to leave politics out. There's different things in there that we need to figure out why they're leaving. Talk to in line and ready to leave because their local club wasn't getting them involved, but at the district level, we asked the person to step up to be our work chair, got that person involved, and we've kept them as a line. So we need to look at those things as to it. And then create a plan to retain membership. The thing is we need to create of our district governor cattle drive. Okay. That you've had, and that should be a separate meeting. Figure out before you grow. You need to know why. We need somebody to go recruit now. One of the things is to work on an elevator speech. Why are you a Lion? 15-second speech, because at some point, you as a local Lions member are going to have to tell people why you're a Lion and things that way. Stuff, 2 different nights, 2 months in a row. The first night, we had a meeting and we discussed the leg of an elephant. There's so much of an elephant there, but all we'll talk about is a little bit the leg of an elephant. We went around the room as to why we each became a Lion and why we were still a Lion. It was that simple of a night. We signed all 6 members that were there. A month later, we had 6 more potential members there, and we got in a heated discussion in our club of what the dues next year should be. How many do you think we signed that night? None. Not a single one. So do this with the club. At this point, we would do a program. Okay. But international. This way it comes. Pieces. As we go through this and kind of talk here, more pieces with the club as we sit down and we give everybody one of these, and we start with block number 1, relative. We ask them all to think of a relative. And as I tell them, I'm like, if you're not willing to invite a family member, why would you invite anybody else? Most a professional person, a lawyer, somebody in your community, job or business associate, a church, pastor, whatever, a neighbor. The city limits of the town. We talk this in some of these communities where we're getting to school districts. As we're rebuilding clubs, maybe we need to join 2 clubs together, or as we start new clubs, look at the school district. Based on a school district and not necessarily a town. Again, you like to do stuff with your friends, to be part of the Lion. Optimists, JCs, Women for the Future, out there doing stuff in the community. That's the main spot that they have. Go ahead and hit the button. Hit it one more time. Former Lions. I guarantee almost every club in here, there are more former members in your community than there are current members. They left for a reason, and that reason may not be there anymore. Okay. So again, as we do this, we work with the partner, and we want them to brainstorm. And here's some other, as we look at those positions, here's some things we ask them to look for. Think of somebody that recently retired. As they retire, they're looking for something to do in their life. They're used to getting up and going to work, so this will help them fill that spot versus now just sitting at home. Think of somebody 10 to 15 younger. If you're 70 years old, I don't expect you to nominate a bunch of people that are in their 20s. But if you're 70, can you give me somebody 55 to 60? If you're in your 60s, can you give me somebody 45 to 50? Somewhere in there, and then we'll work our club down that way. Families assisted by your club. We do things in our community, whether it's a scholarship, it's glasses for somebody in the needed, it's the Kids Site program where we save some child's life. There's things we do in our community and we touch families' lives all the time. What about with those families? They now see what we're doing. People who are new to your town. city officials, school officials. I mean, we're big on children. One of the big ways to help our children is to get people from the school nurse. Get them to be alliance. They can give us that input as to what family needs help with glasses, what help do that, and help us with. They can't necessarily give us names because of HIPAA stuff, but if they understand what we have to offer, they can give our information to those families and help them. And again, kids cite parents or grandparents. And again, the goal is no blanks as we go through there. We've done this exercise in multiple clubs, and it's not uncommon for 10 people sitting in a room to come up with 70 unique names. Some of the names are going to be duplicates. And as what we've told clubs, that's the place to start. If 3 of you gave the same name, that's the first place to target. But what we find is a club of 10, if they have 70 names in there, you can't invite all 70 at one time. But if you invited 5 at a time, look at how many different nights you can invite different people in and do stuff. Okay, so after filling out the wheel, you need a membership committee. And this should be a 2 to 3 person committee minimum, shouldn't be 1. And part of this committee's job is to plan a recruiting night. Invite people. With this, you want to put together a list. And the list should have the individual's name, their address, and a phone number as you can get it. Keep copies of all this. We have had individuals where we've done the recruiting wheel, we've done the list, we've sent them home with one person. I don't know where it went. All that work was down the drain. So make copies. At the district level, if you're there assisting the club, help them make the copies and have it. Tabulate the short list. Some of our clubs even went so far as to, they divided their club in half and challenged each half against the other one to go down that list and see who could bring in the most new members. The side that won got steak night. The side that lost got a hot dog meal. That was the challenge they put in. I mean, have fun with it. Others of them created a bullseye and put 5 members on the bullseye. The one in the middle was the one that was on multiple lists and used that to try and compete and come up with stuff. When you plan the recruiting night, advertise it, put it in the paper, send out invitations. But as Judy said, one of the best things to do is call them up on the phone and offer to give them a ride. If they're in the car with you, they're probably going to make it to the meeting. If they're coming on their own, they can detour this way, they can detour that way, they get busy and not make it to the meeting. Call and invite each person. If you send on a written invitation, that's fine. Call it up. Make that personal connection. And what I'll tell you is, I may give somebody's name, but I'm not necessarily the person to call them. Again, the former mayor in our town, I think, would be an excellent Lion member. But because I'm the person to beat him in a write-in campaign, I'm probably not the person to call him on the phone and invite him to a club meeting. But one of our other respected members of our community could do it and be successful. Okay. So what does the rest of the club do besides the committee? They need to help you plan that recruiting night. And this is something at the district level that I encourage you to help them with. The recruiting night should be about an hour. Include some type of meal plans or something, whether it's cookies and drinks, a snack or something while they're there. And what I encourage, if you have a meal, maybe as a district, you guys help do the meal. It's like my wife's back there working today doing that. We're all out here. If you have a recruiting night, your club, if you have 10 members, 5 of you shouldn't be in the back preparing the meal. You need to be out meeting the new people so they get to know them. Line up a motivational speaker. Somebody can help talk you. Past international director Dave Stouffer, when his health allowed him, he's visited a lot of our clubs. He's a very well speaker, can help connect stuff. I know as we talk, there's the day you become a Lion, it's the day you join the club, but there's the day you become a Lion in your heart. That moment for me was one of our club's new charter nights, and Dave Stouffer was the speaker that night, and I was visiting as a one of the presidents at the time from a neighboring club had come in and heard Dave speak about what Lions does. So it was my first chance really to get outside of the district and hear somebody outside of our district talking what he did. And we gave an easy reader to a student that night at the school. And that's the night that really touched me and changed my direction as to what Lions meant and stuff. LCI has a great, we also have the one from the Iowa Lions Foundation. There's different videos or something that you could show that what Lions does to motivate it. Have a short PowerPoint that talks about what Lions is in Iowa. Again, somebody from the state level can give you the state stuff. Somebody at your district can do this district, but you got to bring it down to your club level also. So make sure you talk about, these are the things we do at the international level. This is what we do at the state level. This is what we do at the district level. This is what we do in our club. Sell what we do. Have membership applications sitting there. I mean, I don't know how many of these I've been to and there's no membership applications. So have the membership applications and sign them that night and get them involved. Okay. Again, put an ad in the paper. Tell who you're recruiting, why you're recruiting. Throughout the year, at the end of the year, do you put something in the paper and do a roll-up of what your club done for the year and thank your community? Let them know what you're doing. One of the other things that frustrates me, and I know my club does it too, between our Facebook page, we encourage people to contact a Lion member and join. But nowhere in the ad or on Facebook do we list out who the members are. Who are they supposed to contact? Create a club brochure. Does your club have a brochure? So as you're doing events, that they could see what you're doing in your community. My club, we did something with ours that I see very few clubs do. We got a section down the bottom and talk about what the membership dues are. At some point, you got to have that discussion, so we just lay it right out there at the beginning. And then that way, when the question comes up, well, why do I want to pay to be a member of a club I'm serving? We can have that discussion. By you paying, it allows these things to happen and stuff. Again, have some type of potluck or meal or whatever. Invite them to a project. Don't invite them to a meeting, invite them to a project. Hook them through the project, then get them to join. Yeah, ask the potential Lion to work with you on a project. The Neola Lions, they restored a theater in their community. And they got a carpenter to come in and help, and after that, he then became a Lion because he's seen what the Lions do. So hook them with the heart first in there. And then once we get them, like I said, induct the new members. Make it special. I mean, a lot of our new members show up, and we say, well, Ed back here, he's our new member. Well, call them up. Tell them who, yeah, call them up, give them the pin, do the induction, and make it special, memorable. Give them orientation so they understand what it is to be a member in your club. And then we need to make sure we mentor them. And the other thing that goes along with that mentoring, at the district level that we need to consider, we use guiding lions for new clubs. Put a guided lion on a rebuilding club. If you're rebuilding a club that's went from 2 to 20 or 10 to 20, put somebody from the district there as a guiding lion type position to help them mentor them for a couple years. Does this really work? Okay, I forgot I had sound. Past council chair Diana Benzing, like I said, the year she did this, we ended plus 37. The other thing that also happened to be the first year the Norm Dean Membership Award come out. We won that, and Diana Bending, when she got that at the council governor's meeting, she brought it back to the district, and the first thing she said, she goes, this is not my award, this is the district's award, because it took the whole district to do this. The year before that, we ended the year 102, negative. We were sitting there running around that 30 mark, which is bad, still minus 30, and then June come along, and clubs cleaned house. I felt very bad for District Governor Sherry Holiday. She was having a decent year, and clubs unloaded there in June, and we ended the year minus 102. And the sad part was, that's where we probably should have started the year. We had so many clubs that had not been updating stuff on international, had not been updating members, and we preached that and preached that and preached it. Let's clean our rolls up, let's know where we're at, let's do reporting, and boy did they. They cleaned it up and they dropped, and it's helped us going forward. But like I said, we need to get serious again. This is not a once and done thing. As Judy said, it's a multi-year thing that we need to keep going. Okay, next slide. So that year as we did this, again, we started it out, we did zone meetings. And we invited every club into zone meetings, and we talked about the club excellence process. And that's where we started. So we did the club health assessments, we did the community needs assessment, and then after they did that, and they knew why they needed memberships, then we come in and we met with each club individually, ran the recruiting wheel, helped them run their night and stuff. But we built a team of 20 leaders in our district, and at the time we were sitting with 56 clubs. So that was a little over 2 clubs each leader had to work with. So it was something that was doable. And these are some of the successes that we had. Baird added 3, and actually that was a club that was about ready to fold. They had called us and told us they did a vote, and they were going to fold. And that was Diana Benton's year, and then the next incoming governor and I, we went up, we met with that club, and we talked with them, and we walked them through kind of the club health assessment, and it was June. And well, when we got there that night, they handed us, as part of everybody else, a sheet like this, filled out top to bottom of everything they did in their community. And after they got done, we got up and we're kind of confused. We see all these things you're doing in your community. Why do you want to fold? Well, we just don't know if we can do this anymore. I'm like, does everybody want to do it? Because we just need one person. So we ended that meeting with every member in there writing on a piece of paper 1 of 3 words. Remain a club, fold the club, or I want to transfer to another club. I picked up all those papers and says, I'll be back at your first meeting in July to discuss these results. Well, we're going to be done the end of June. I'll be back at your first meeting in July to discuss this. I went back, almost every member was there. And we walked them through some of these processes and helped rebuild them. So they added 3 members. Harlan added 4. Glenwood did 4. And while they were having their meetings and everything else like that to celebrate it, they found another potential lion. Missouri Valley crossed over from the all-male club to women-involved club. My club, when I joined, was an all-male club, and if you mention bringing females in, one of our members says, that's what the club for Women for Preneurs Futures for. That's the women's club, this is the men's club. I'm like, okay. And it got to the point where one of our members was having health issues and couldn't drive himself to the meeting, and his daughter started bringing him to the club. And at one meeting, she asked what's it take to join, and one of the other members sitting in our club went to school with her. She says, I think that'd be a great idea. That's what it finally took. And then after that, we got a young couple had reached out to me about joining, and so I went over and met with them, and this was in 2014, just before I was district governor the first time, and so I was talking to my wife about her joining the club, and she goes, well, if you get that young couple to join, then I'll join. I go, here, fill this out. She goes, why do I want to fill that out? I go, because I got their applications out the car. So if that's what it takes, I already got to fill this out. So that's what it took. One female was a struggle, but once we started getting 3 to 4 females in our club, we've now crossed. And our member that stood there in that meeting and said women could go to that club, when we had our first female president, when her year ended, he got up and said, I was probably the strongest person against women joining the club, but I want to congratulate you on the year you did as president. And stuff. So it takes that. Missouri Valley, we were over there celebrating one of those milestones, 65 years as a Lion or whatever, and the question come up, who's a member in the room? Who's not a member? Why aren't you a member? And again, it was all the wives. So they added 5. Stewart added 10 members. Stewart's a club that's in trouble right now. They've lost their way since then. We need to keep working on that. One thing, people got to be asked to join. If you ask somebody, why have you joined before? Well, nobody asked me. And I tell you what, there are people in your community that are actually upset they haven't been asked yet. When you finally ask them, you go, I can't believe it. I've been a doctor in this town for 10 years and nobody ever asked me to join it. Remember, new lions can energize a club. They bring new ideas. They bring new leadership. They bring new focus. And with that, with leadership, rotating your officers does the same thing. We got to rotate our officers. We got to rotate our service projects, and we do that. And with the service projects, after you get done, stop and evaluate, does this still meet our need for a service project, or are we doing it because we did it last year and the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before? Any questions? Stan.
When District Governor Tony Hill ended his year and mine began as District Governor, we had, he and I were both watching the membership. Then I looked down one day and saw that Macokota had dropped all 18 members. And so I contacted Tony and we agreed to go and talk to the members. So we got 3 of the members to attend that meeting. Now, the club had zeroed all their memberships. And we sat down and did just exactly what you suggested. We asked them what functions they had been doing. And it was a longer list of things that they had done within that community. So I asked them, I said, can I ask you 3 people, which was happened to be the treasurer, the president, and the secretary, to sign up for 6 months? The district will pay your dues. We want to rebuild the club. So after some talking, they agreed. I had the website doctor to add those 3 members back. Now, we didn't do 20 members and stuff, but we were up to 8. So by us going in and talking to them, we still have a club. They've got 8 members, and they're still doing an enormous amount of work. Also on surveys, I sent out a survey in my year as district governor. I think it was about 70 surveys and stuff I sent out, you know, and the list on there was why you joined, why did you leave, and a lot of things where they had to fill in questions, not yes or no or something along those lines. And I got probably about 35 of those back. And the majority theme was through there, I was a member, I made suggestions, and they told me they had done that and it didn't work. Or I sit by, and that's all they wanted me to do, was just sit back and learn. They didn't involve me in anything. Or I was a young member in an old club talking about the member stuff. I didn't fit in.
And one other thing, to rebuild a club, sometimes members have to leave. There are negative members in clubs that are bringing clubs down or holding a club back. Our Waukee club, we were losing it, attempted to restart it, had 1 member from their previous club, and could not get that club off the ground. Let everything lay for 3 years, for 4 years, come back in, started a fresh new club, and we did fine. But I will tell you, even with starting the new club, is I got names from people around the district. I got somebody's name, and I had the president reach out to that person, hey, we got your name from another lion that was there, and he come back with this, well, I was a member of the previous club, and they did this, why would I want to rejoin it? All communication with that person stopped. That's not the attitude that we wanted in the new club. Lorimer, Iowa club, we were sitting at 3 members forever. As you said, I was watching the membership count. We dropped to 2 members. I'm like, well, there's the leaf that just lost us. Well, no, we lost that negative member. And that was the starting point, that we rebuild them up to 11 within 6 months. Terry, do you have something?
I'm just going to make a comment. Earlier this week, I was talking to a past council chair from our district, by the way. Anyway, he was talking about clubs that are wanting to quit or whatever. And he said, one of the things you have to do, you've got to go talk to them. You've got to go talk to them. And he said, GLD needs to do more in training people about not just starting new clubs, but what do you do with the club that's thinking of folding, or already written the letter to fold. His comment was, he said, we walked into a club, and I won't tell you who it is, and said, I want all your members there. And he said, again, they were all there. And he said, first question is, how many people want to be lions in here, or want this club to fold? He said, 2 hands stood, 2 people raised their hands. He said, I told them, you can leave now, and the rest of you can stay. And I was astounded now. I'm not sure I want to take that approach, but knowing this individual, he would do something like that. And it's a strong club today. So
being leaders in here, one thing you're going to deal with in your district, one of your clubs somewhere has either a past district governor or a past president that is the problem in that club. I've been district governor, I'm telling you this is how you got to do it or something like that, and as leadership, you're going to have to sit that person down and have that conversation with them that what you're doing is hurting your club. I've been to clubs where I asked the club a question and had past district governors in it. Before they'd answer me, I'd see them looking across the room to get the okay to answer my question. So those are the things we have to keep in mind. Past presidents of clubs could be problems. You did your term, you stepped aside, let the new person run it. Whatever decision they make, right, wrong, or indifference is theirs. I get a lot of calls from my club, hey, what do you think about this? That's a great question to take to our membership. I may have my opinion, I may know the answer, but let the club decide whether we should be doing that or not, and not as an individual. Those are things that we need to keep in mind. Yes, Paul?
What comment on letting the community know what's going on in the club? Many of our small towns and our town have lost our local newspaper. And it is really, really hard. I mean, we use Facebook as much as we can, but not everybody gets on that and checks also. That losing that newspaper now, even though they're supposed to be government, will get covered. And many people just drop it. So it's really hard to get out what you're doing within that community in many of these small communities. The other thing is post up the post office. Now, anybody half mile away from the post office gets you know delivered. So, you don't get that aspect of it.
And one of your first slides was on new member orientation. And I joined 04, Cedar Falls Club, and I was president by 07 or and I remember that for that. But after I started as president, I thought, I don't know enough about politics because there wasn't any process to teach new members what we actually do on the white base and where it all stored. So we started a new member orientation, as we were talking about. And like this next Tuesday, we have a member orientation and a system manager nightly meeting, once a year, twice a year, to bring in the new members and also our system leaders together. And we'll go through all these different aspects of our club. And this helps people realize that they're more than just club pancakes or whatever. There's actually a lot more within the line. So we're very much.
As we start new clubs, we can reach out to International and get a representative from International come in and help us start a club in our community. But while they're there, if you got another community that's struggling close to you, we can use them to start the new club, but also help rebuild the other club, help get that membership in the area. So,
What you're going to see now, and you're going to see it more and more, social media is the only way to attract people. Newspapers are dying. Talk about the newspapers. Not only are they losing the towns, but there's nothing printed anymore.
You can see the record there, down to almost printing the daily newspaper on 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's not even, our newspaper in Waterloo, there isn't even enough to start a fire for my barbecue. So anyway, but what you really need to do is start, just get yourself used to using social media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's all these different medias that are out there, because today's youth, and you can talk to this group, as far as Leo's, that is all they do, that's all they use is in the streets, and we call Instagram, that's the new.
They don't even make phone calls.
Yeah, they don't even make phone calls.
Or answer them.
yeah,
They're on their phone.
yeah, the Waukee Lions Club, when we started it, 1 year before we started the club, we had a Facebook page promoting what Lions did and everything, started building that interest when we did it, Terry. Yeah.
I was just saying,
Yeah.
I remember when you did that, because I'm still following that Facebook page, I think.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, just one thing, I want to go back to the comments about negative members. Because we are talking about new members, and that's a big part of what you're doing, but you're exactly right with negative members. But there's there's some pitfalls with negative members. I was kept back after a club visit by the secretary, an older fella. He was really distraught, and there was an obvious vocal negative member in his club. Very, very, very small community. And we talked at length about what to do about that. The concern was that he was so vocal that he would start tearing down the Lions Club if he wasn't a member. And so while we need to figure out ways to remove members, I think, that are negative, and I think it's nice to bring in a PCC to do that, somebody that doesn't belong there but can do what was suggested. But there are situations where that could be detrimental as well. So we do need to think about new members, but we need to think about how do we, maybe this is the way to put it, counsel the negative members out. And secretaries need help with that, and they're your person who really knows who's who. They could be the problem even, I don't know.
One of our clubs that grew in membership in southern Iowa went from 20 to 40. So we added 20 members one year. And the secretary at the time was so negative about those 20 members coming in. I didn't notice it as bad, but I was frustrated when I made my district governor visit that night. District Governor Allen come in a few years behind me, and he was down there. He says, that's the only meeting I almost left before the meeting was over. He was so frustrated with that person. Well, 2 years later, he was district governor again and went back down there. And the club had finally figured out how to deal with that person. She had her set ideas, how she wanted to do stuff, and the club had their ideas. So they sat there and they had the conversation. Here's what you want, here's what we want. They worked their way through it, and then come up with a compromise to settle through it. So they found how that person can still give their input, but the club found a way to work through that. Those are the things we have to do. And as a president of the club, that's one of the things as leaders, you got to figure out how to get that person involved, how to get other people's comments in and work through that. And some of us, for a leader, that sometimes, as my wife will tell you, I avoid conflict. Evidently, except for with her, because she tells me I create all kinds of conflict with her. But I work to avoid conflict. So a lot of our leaders don't like conflict. So they'll let that person speak whether engaging them. So those are the things as leaders we need to work on, which again goes back to the good leadership versus bad leadership. So with that, I'm gonna.
Along with that same topic, and this may be a controversial attitude, but here's one thing that I can do. You talked about these men-only
Clubs, okay? I have, 9MC has one of the biggest and most active men-only clubs. That's Bondurant. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Start a women's club. Start another club in that community. I'm sure you're all familiar with Bondurant and how fast it's growing. There's houses going up by the hundreds. Start another club. Bondurant does a function from May to September every single weekend. One weekend, they do two in the same weekend. That club's not broken. Don't try to fix it. Start another club. Start a branch club if women want to join. But look at it from that point of view. But anyway, thank you, Pat. Are there any other questions for Pat before we move on? Okay, Eric? Did you want to start the video first, or?
You can go ahead and pull it up and go ahead and go to the second slide if you want to. Yes, thank you very much, Judy. So first off, let me thank you again for inviting me up to spend the day with you guys, to visit and to work on the dialogue on how Iowa Lions are going to grow and change as an association in the state. Everything that Pat and Judy and Brian has talked about this morning can be achieved through the global membership approach. So I'm going to give you just a quick history on the global membership approach. Again, the global membership approach initially started as NAMI, or North American Membership Initiative, back in 2018 as a pilot for Constitutional Area 1 and Constitutional Area 2. LCI knew that we had a membership issue in Constitutional Area 1 and Constitutional Area 2, and they knew that we needed to find a way to increase membership, revitalize the clubs, and remotivate the members that we have currently. So they ran through the pilot in 2018 and 2019, and after the year of 2019, it was decided that NAMI is not just a North American continent issue. It is a worldwide issue. So they switched it over to global membership approach, and it is now being phased in around the world to help Lions clubs all over the world. Next slide, please. The global membership approach can seem daunting when you first start, but there are 3 simple things that the global membership approach wants you to do, and that is rejuvenate your districts with new clubs, remotivate members with fellowship and exciting ideas, and also revitalize the current clubs that you have and the members in those clubs to keep them motivated to grow their local clubs. Next slide, please. So I'm going to just kind of go over the 4 steps. Some of you have went through some of this already, but for the ones that have not, there are 4 steps, and you're going to do them in order. So you are going to start with build a team. Just like what was said earlier, when you're building your team, I challenge you to look for Lions all over your district that don't have a title, okay? When I was global membership chair last year in my district, my team was 16 people, and all but 1 person per team were Lions around the district that did not have a title, okay? For one, that's going to help you motivate those up-and-coming leaders. They're getting a voice in your district and your state without the official title. They're having some buy-in on what needs to happen in the district and the state. So, and the other thing that I did when looking at your teams, try to get people from different areas of your district. That way you have representation all over your district to help. Second step is build your vision. And this is honestly, Brian and I were speaking this morning, this honestly is probably the hardest step of the process because you need an honest SWOT analysis. When you're doing your SWOT analysis, again, leaders can be involved, but send it out to 100 Lions in your district. All levels of Lions. You want that feedback because what you think is an issue in your district may not be the issue that is actually taking place at that local club or that local zone. Get their feedback so that you can build a comprehensive plan and build a great SWOT analysis on what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, your opportunities, and your threats. Keep in mind, some of them are going to be in multiple places, but that's okay. Third is build your plan. Use the resources on LCI. Reach out to myself. There are 15 area GAT leaders around the United States in Constitutional Area 1. We are all working as a team. So if you need a resource on specialty clubs, reach out to me. I've got an area leader in a different part of the United States that handles specialty clubs and knows specialty clubs. He would be ecstatic to speak with you. I'm not your only resource. I'm just the funnel to the resources. But when you're building your plan, make sure that you do your SMART goals, and I challenge you, look 5 years out, okay? Keep in the back of your mind when you're doing your SMART goals, if a new member was to walk in to your club in 5 years, what could you tell them that you have changed over the last 5 years to grow membership? So look 5 years out. 5 years is an obtainable goal. I wouldn't go much further than that because things change, demographics in the communities change, etc. And finally, build success. You're going to start implementing your plan in your district, in your zone, in your club. This process can be ran through at all levels. So don't think you have to keep it at the state level or the district level. If you want to have a zone do it, which is what I did as a pilot, take it down to the zone chair and have the zone chairs run through the GMA process at their zone. You can even take it down to the specific club and have the club run through the process. One thing that I will tell you though about building your success, your SMART goals, they're living, breathing documents. Don't think just because you put it on the paper today or in the next month or so, it's gospel. That's what you're gonna do. Continually look at your SMART goals, revamp them, revitalize them, shift, do whatever you need to do to keep moving forward in your process. Next slide, please. So, as you can see, looking at the graph, we are at the end of the arrow, but the arrow doesn't stop there. We're moving forward. The GMA process is going to be part of Lions for many years to come. It is embedded in our international president's motives. So at this point where we are is all districts around the world are getting on the bandwagon and going through the same process that you all are going to start doing here in Iowa. Next slide, please. And finally, to reiterate what Brian said earlier, for today and as you move through this process, number one, you have to have fun. The energy that you create while you're doing this is going to help you grow your state. And I want all of you and everyone that works with you to be open-minded, okay? It's very easy to fall backwards and do we've always done it this way, that didn't work 5 years ago. Just because something didn't work 5 years ago does not mean that it's not going to work this year. So please keep an open mind. And finally, try to encourage everyone to refrain from using no or but in their dialogue when you guys are working through the process. I challenge you to switch it to yes and. If they give you an idea, write it down. Let it breathe for a minute or two. Talk through it. No idea is a bad idea. At the end of the day, you may ultimately not do the idea, but allow that individual to share their idea, be heard, and be understood. Thank you.
Okay, next one, Paul Hain.
I'm like Pat. It isn't small clubs. We need all clubs that we need to be working with. We need to be thinking about increasing membership, just not our small clubs, because we all have the same issues as he said. Go ahead, Judy. Where do we get started? How do we start on this? And I talked with Judy a little bit on that. Your club and community needs assessment. How many of you have done a club and community needs assessment? Yeah, I can't even put my hand up, and we've not done it. But it's something that we need to do to get started with this. Just kind of went through some of the things on it. The first activity on that is to list your club strengths and your challenges. Not your weaknesses, but your challenges. What challenges us as a club on that? Where are we strong at, and what do we do? The second activity, what area motivates your club to serve? Is it kid site? Is it whatever it happens to be within the community, or within your club? What motivates you to do that, to serve? And the third is the specific needs of the community. What within that community motivates us to do something? What opportunities, resources will enhance our services? And I think we can all think over the years as we started out, and I've been in line for a long time, many different things. We've changed what we're doing as times have changed, and we need to continue to do that. Next slide, Judy. Well, what are you going to need? Who are you going to need? You're going to need a Lion or a Leo to facilitate, to act as that needs assessment facilitator. Somebody who can review all the activities, that can lead the discussion, and that someone in your club doesn't have to be the president or secretary, but someone in your club that can do that. And I like the idea of somebody on the outside doing it versus somebody within the club receiving those. 8 to 10 club members. In a lot of our cases, that's going to be most of our members that attend our clubs meetings. 8 to 10, you can't do that with just a few. You need more than just a few. And the other thing you need is that club quality initiative. How many of you have seen that booklet on the website? It's about a 20-page booklet on there. There's some very good information in there. It works you through, and I've got slides following that up that will, what the questions to ask and where you're at on that. How much time you're going to need. If you want to do it in all one session, it's going to take you an hour to 2 hours. Or you can split it up to two different sessions. Activity 1, your strengths and your challenges on the first one, and then your activities and what motivates the club, new service ideas on your second hour session there. So either way, sometimes I think it's better to split it up so you're not there too long at one time on that. And there's questions. Speak up as we're going. Okay, Judy. This is taken from that club quality. Rejuvenate with new members. And I'll just kind of go through these as we go through. Our club recruits community leaders who can help advance our projects. Are we looking for those leaders in the community that can help us do that and help us there? Is our club actively seeking prospective members and successfully recruiting them? Are we getting them once we recruit them and get them to be part of it? And sometimes that's hard, especially in some of the small communities, because people are involved in so many different things within the small communities. It's hard to get our recruiting efforts recognized and supported. Do we recognize those in our club that are recruiting, that have gotten new members? And I think if you've recruited new members, you do get those key from Lions Club International, and it's good to present those at a meeting and why are they getting those membership keys at the time. Fourth one, new members receive an orientation that is engaging and informative. And I think, as Pat has said, too many of us, we skip that part. We don't go through that orientation part of it. We give them the new member booklet. Here it is. There's many things on the website that you can go find. Give them the website information, and we don't do that orientation like we should. And we're guilty of it in my club, of really orientating those members. That's how we keep them. It's giving them that orientation and what we're doing as a club as we're going through. What actions are we taking to recruit club members? And these are all on the evaluation sheets. It's been more years than I want to think right now. Our club went through, who in the community can we recruit? Let's put a list of names down. We probably had a list of 25 or 30 names. 2 of us went out and recruited. We got 1 new member from that, and that list is sat there. Nobody else has done anything with it. We've tried some others and talked to some others, but I think too many times we'll come up with those ideas, but we need to do the action on those possible new members as we're going through. How can the club keep members interested and engaged? That's in any of the activities that we're doing. And it's hard to add new activities to what you're already doing. Paul was coming to our club for a while, and we had a fish fry every year, every winter in January, believe it or not. We fried the fish outside, and if we didn't have good weather, you didn't have a fish fry, and did it with a basketball game. Okay, what can we do different on that? Paul says, why don't you do a pancake supper? So we did. We switched to a pancake supper. And that went for a number of years, and then now we've got another project, but that's another story. But how can we keep them? We need to keep them interested. Don't throw them in as a chair right away, or don't make them an officer right away when you get them as a new member. That's not a way to get them engaged. It's a way to get them engaged, but it's not a way to keep them a lot of times on that. The last one, they're thinking about the members who have left, what could have been done differently to keep them active and engaged. We need to listen to those young members, the new members, and what they want to do. They have different ideas than we do, and different ways of doing things than what we do. And I think that's the thing, we've got to be open to those. And I think back, and I always have to refresh myself on why I think that way. When I had a business and you hired new people, and you take them out and show them how to do, this is the way I do it, but if you've got a better way, let me know, because I can change my way. And I think that's the thing that we have to keep in mind, that our way is not always the right way, and it may not always be the best way, but we have to, we have to be open for that. These, again, are all questions on that that we need to answer as we're going through that quality, or on that CCNA. The revitalize their club service activities. Does our club partner with community organizations or other businesses in the community? Can we partner together and do things with others in there? We partner with our school a lot because that's the center of the activity in our community. We're not a consolidated school with any other communities around. The school is the focus in the community. And so we have tried to partner with them on as many things as we can. However, is there other, is the Chamber of Commerce, can we partner with them, or can we partner with the other clubs in town if there's other clubs? And we're basically the only club other than the Chamber. So what can we do there? Do our activities attract new members to our club? And I think that's something that we really need to look at. KidSite is a good one to get involved with, and once somebody takes a picture of a kid that needs glasses, you've got them hooked. And that is part of it. Terry.
Do our prospective members know about our service activities? Do they know KidSite's available to them?
Yeah.
I mean, we're back to communications again.
Back to communications.
Outside world, I guess you could say.
Right. Yeah, it's that's the thing. We have to let people know what's going on. We've got one that people see, and we get a lot of comments on. We put flags up in town, and we've got Main Street just pretty well covered with a flag on subscription basis. People see that. People know what we're doing, but it's still hard to get them as members. We've got to trip some triggers to get members, even though they do see some of those things on that. Does our club invite Leos and other youth to help us serve alongside? And most of our small communities, we don't have Leos in town, so if we can work with our schools to get kids to help volunteer doing activities. And I think that's really important, to get them into service, get them to thinking about what service is in the community at a young age. Hopefully then, as they get older, we can get them involved and be part of our communities. Do members see the impacts of their projects? And I think that's, if our members can't see the value in what we're doing, then why are we doing that? And so that's a question we have to ask. Why are we doing this project? If they can't see that. Another question, do you have any suggestions regarding the questions in the evaluation, or how we can improve our service? There's always improvement to be made, and we need to say, what can we do to improve that service and that we're doing within the community? Do you have a favorite project or activity? I had one a year ago after our fall festival, and we always do a kiddie tractor pull. And I went to pick up the equipment after I went to the ice cream social in town, come back and pick it up, and there's a group of 5 young people standing there, and they said, you guys ought to start doing a bathtub race or an outhouse race or something like that. And I said, you know what, guys? I said, all 5 of you, we would use you. If you want to join our Lions Club, that can be a project that you can do. I haven't got any of them to join yet, but there was something that they brought up that was interesting, that they were interested in, and I said, hey, come and join us. So we've got work to do on that aspect of it. So if you've got a favorite project, and that's, we need to look at those. What's the least favorite thing that you do? Maybe it's time to get rid of it. If nobody likes it, maybe it's time to get rid of it. What new potentials do we have? What should we consider doing? I can think of one that one of the neighboring clubs does, and they've got strongly involved in the diabetes awareness. And I think that's one that all of us could really get on the bandwagon with and do that. It's one that we support, but what else can we do? And are there current projects that should be reconsidered or redesigned? And like I said, with Paul and the pancake supper or fish fry that time, he kind of put that bug in our ear, and then he left us. He went, back to other ones. But I haven't, Paul. You haven't.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. The third assessment area is the leadership development. Do we encourage our members to seek leadership positions? Do we encourage our members to seek leadership positions? How many of you have signed a new member that said, I don't want to be an officer? And what do you tell them? What do you tell that person?
Well, Paul, actually, my wife was one of those. When she joined, she said, I will be a behind-the-scenes person. You push me off the position, I'm done. But after 4 years in the club, she became our club treasurer. That was her idea. Well, we had to look into it when she was ready for it.
Yeah.
But she told us, if you push me there too quick,
Yep.
I'm out of here.
Any others that have recruited a new member that said that? What have you said?
I just want your 2 hands to help us with service projects. That's all.
There we
That's
go.
all I.
There we go. And we've all got members in our clubs that do not want to be an officer, but yet they will pick up and do things in the club that are behind the scenes that most people don't see. And we need those people as well as those that lead.
I'll tell you what, Paul, they may not want to be an officer, but many of them do not have a problem being the chairperson for a committee.
Right.
For a project.
Right. Yeah. So use that skill, even if but again, we need to talk about moving up and, get outside of the club. I guess for years I was one not to get outside of the club, and then somebody got me outside, and I don't remember. I know who it was, but I'm not going to say. But yeah, and once you get outside the club, that's people find out that there's more to Lions than just what's in that, and we need to develop that leadership on there. Do the club officers keep our members informed of club decisions? How many of your clubs send out minutes to the members? Yeah, some do, some don't. And I think I've tried that a time or two, and I've been secretary for I don't know how many years in my club, but I think it's more and more that we need to get them out. It's just like sending out, somebody mentioned on agendas. Who has agenda? We have made the push in our club a few years ago. Everybody has an agenda. I send it out with the notice for the meeting, so everybody knows what's on that agenda. Whether they open it or not, that's their issue. But I think too many times we do not keep that club informed, and we really, members informed, and we really need to. Do the members feel engaged in what they're doing? Yes or no? And how do we get them engaged and make good use of their time? And I think use of their time. How many of you have a set length of your meeting in your club? I think that's very important because nobody wants to sit there. Everybody's time is valuable, so we need to get that set.
Oddly, it's that set time that got me in the door to a meeting to begin with. They said, oh, it's an hour.
Right.
And then if you have subcommittee things or, board things or whatever, you can do that. But I said, all right, I can do an hour, that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, too many of us have sat in long meetings. Pat?
One of the things I noticed, stepping back in as president the last several years, we got in the meetings over the last several years, what I found us doing was a lot of our meetings were trying to figure out when we were doing this activity, when we were doing that activity. Well, we sat down at the beginning of this year, and we just put the calendar out. This is when the soup supper is. This is when the pork chop meal is. Here it is, so everybody can put it on the calendar. So all we have to discuss at the meeting is, what do we need at the meeting? We're no longer discussing for 3 meetings, what night do we think we get together to get this? But this was just something we put out there. So if this all our members, who the officers are, our activities we're going to do, and what our meeting nights are. Because our club normally meets twice a month, but some months we don't meet. One of our meetings always falls on Monday, Thursday. We always cancel. We just took it off this year. But all our members now have this, because that's one of the things our members struggle with. Well, when's this activity should I get on the calendar? Now that you told me, I already got 5 other things on my calendar. Well, there, it's there for the year. Every member has it. As we update, we email it out throughout the year.
Yeah. Good idea. Excuse me, good idea on that. But yeah, we can't waste time anymore on meetings. Are members satisfied with how the club is managed? Yeah, that gets, you get into some issues there, but that's another one of the questions that need to be answered on that as to what's going on. Okay, questions on operations of the club. What improvements or club meetings could be made? And things like that help improve the club meeting and, making sure they know the agenda. And we put on our agenda approval of the agenda because we had one member that we get down and somebody make a motion to adjourn and wait a minute, I've got something. And so we said, if you want to be on the agenda, we need to know up front, and that stopped some of that, at the end. What changes can we make to make your participation more meaningful? Is there conflict within the club? It never happens. We had an ugly situation at one of our meetings, and that person has finally left the club, and it's been good for that. Does the club need more communication between members? And I think at times we do lack that communication between members on that, but that's how do we get that involved, and help with that, and that's on that assessment. If you could change one thing, what would it be? That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. What can we change? Okay, Judy. Okay, then we go to assignment 4 is sharing. This is the 4th assignment in that booklet. How the community views your club. Is it positively or negatively? Or not at all? How many know what's going on at all in the community? Do they realize you're even there? Pat.
But that makes a difference as we rebuild clubs. I know one of our clubs, we attempted to save or rebuild. When we did that, talked to the community, there was a very negative thing in the town, and we had no success in it. So until we can change that perspective, we're not putting a club back there.
Yeah.
But that's the thing we have to work on to put the club back, is how do we put a positive spin? And some of that is now the district going in that club and doing service projects positive now to build that future going forward.
Right. What kind of visibility do you have to the community leaders in that?
My club is relatively new. It was started in 2015, and I joined in 2017. We recently completed what we call the All Veterans Memorial, and it's next to City Hall in Brooklyn. And we have been getting marvelous compliments. We appreciate what you guys did. folks from Muscatine, some of my cohorts on city council, and city administrator came down. Yeah, we definitely have to support the community because this project cost $45,000 put together. We started fundraising in September 2019, and we managed to get money through COVID. We got our grant probably 2020. We ordered it in April, and then due to COVID and all the other supply chain issues that we had, it wasn't available to dedicate until this June, but we had 200 people there, and it all up.
Great, great. Paul?
I was going to say, for your visibility community, you should choose your own horn here about what you guys just did with the city banners.
Yeah. Visibility, two things. We've got flags, as I mentioned, and we're 150 some flags right now in our community. People see that on Main Street, and people know who does that. We just recently, if you haven't visited our Lions website, Lone Tree Lions website, we just put 10 welcome banners in town. It says, "Welcome to Lone Tree." They're 30 by 60 inches. We've got the school logo, which is a lion head. We've got the town's tree on it, and just below that, about so big as a lion's emblem. You would think people would know that maybe the Lions have done that. However, one of the city council members called me one day, and he says, shortly, a day or two after it went up, he says, "We got thanked by some people in town for putting these banners up." And he says, "I informed them that it wasn't the city, it was you guys." And so they're being noticed, but maybe not as much as we would like. But I think that's gonna get our image back out a little more so on that. And it's a colorful banner. We've got a few issues with how they're hooked up yet, but.
Is your school a Lion because of Lions?
No, ours were Lions. They've been Lions for years.
Ours weren't until the Evening Lions Club, my club, chartered in '74, turned a landfill, an old city dump, into the football field. And so they then became Clear Lake Lions. And the thing I found about that I think you're absolutely right on, I've been a real estate broker in Clear Lake for 28 years. Both of my kids were Lions, went through some state football stuff, never knew that field was because of the Lions Club, and that the kids were named Lions because of our club.
Yeah.
So that was something I think is,
We've got
dear to me to get that back out there.
Yeah, and we have a baseball field in town that the Lions put a fence around the first year, and there's a Lions emblem there. I don't think 99% of the people know why that Lions emblem is on there. And, it's, with that, but communication on that.
Just back to you, I don't think Lions clubs toot their own horns. No. I think that's one of the biggest weaknesses we have.
Best kept secret in town.
We're too selfless and brag about what
Yep.
we're doing.
Yep.
I think we got to our horns
Yep.
for everybody.
Again, the media, we've talked about the media before when Pat was up here, but I think so many of our small towns, and we're one, we lost that communication. Another town, paper picked it up. We're one of few people in town that continues to get that paper, and frankly, when our granddaughter's out of high school, we won't probably get it, and so that communication, we don't get that, coverage that we would if we had a group in town. Internal communications, how many clubs have newsletter? Oh, great. That's, internal, besides our minutes, I think is a good way, but that's one of the questions we have to ask, we have to look at. Club brochures is another one, and that was one thing I wrote down back there. I think people don't realize how much we all do in our communities. If we had a brochure that we could leave out in different places in town, just so they know what we do. How do they perceive us? That's been answered before. What can our club do to reshape the public opinion about Lions and increase our visibility? And
I'll tell you something else. How do you use the eyeglass box? Like eyeglasses. Does everybody fill out the back? Is this who to contact from school? And does your club have a list of where all those are at? I have visited several clubs, they know there's 10 in the community, but nobody knows where they're at because the person who put them out no longer a member. Or nobody wrote on it, who to fill, who to call.
Yeah. Interesting one, the Kelowna had a Lions Club, they chartered our club back in '74. A Lioness Club was in Kelowna for many years. It's been 5 or 6 years or maybe more now that they quit. They had a box at one of the banks in Kelowna. I get the call whenever it's full. I don't know how I got on that list, but I get the call. Every once in a while the phone will ring and it's Kelowna Bank. Come get the glasses, boxes full. So, yeah.
Our club chartered 2015 or 17, somewhere in there. It's been a couple years now. But they got a call from one of the eye doctors from the old club had left the box and they've been gone 10 years. So they've been holding glasses for 10 years and they called us and said, hey, we got some glasses, who can pick them up? It's like, and it's not like it's even in Waukee, it's in Urbandale. It's a whole other town where there's another Lions Club already,
But I just leave that one in Kelowna, I mean, because somebody needs to collect them. Okay, Judy, next. I did just throw this questionnaire in, and this comes from the new club development questionnaire as you go into a community. And I think, you know, some of the questions are the same, but I think there's some very good questions there. The strengths of your community, the unique characteristics, and what programs are currently offered. We need to answer those questions as we're doing the others as we're going through there. Areas of weaknesses, you know, three specific needs, or maybe it should say challenges, but that came off the Lions stuff. But what are 3 needs that really are there, not just in a new community we're going into, but in our own communities? Organizations, you know, expertise, type of community service projects that are there. Go ahead, Judy. Program service you think is needed? Are the residents aware of programs that take place within the community, and what role could your Lions Club play providing those within the communities? Okay. Step 3 is set goals. We've talked about step goals and again, your SMART goals. Ensure that the objective's clear. Your benchmarks and progress must be measurable. Each goal must be achievable. Like somebody said, don't say I want to do way up here. Make it so you can reach it. You can always reset that goal, and I've been taught that many years. Set them to where that it is reachable, and you can reset those. Realistic, and then should have a timeline on that to when that should end. Step 4 is to develop plans. Determine your long and short-term priorities, your 5, your 10 years, whatever it is. Assign goals to committees and hold them accountable. Encourage all club members to be involved in the solution. And back to Pat's recruiting wheel, start recruiting. Okay.
Any questions?
And all these, I print these off for myself. I wasn't going to print them for everybody because ink's a little expensive, but your club and community needs assessments right there in your GMA or on that, the club quality initiative, and then your new club going into a new community.
All those questions are just suggestions. They're an idea. If your club needs to tailor that or something else, tailor it for your community.
Yes. Yep. Thank you. You. Oh.
What I was going to cover.
Paul, leave your mic up there.
Oh, it's here, Terry.
Hey, Jess. Yeah. A new club. I did. You need to focus that thing. I can't see squat. Is that thing in focus, or is that just my cataracts? Well, I've been a little fuzzy too.
You other guys that just have been up here, now you got to go do it all over again so that you can see what it was. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah, and I thought I was going to have cataract surgery too. Yeah, that's pretty good. I got at least a few people excited about it. But anyway, let's talk about charting a new club. And there's a lot of people in here. A lot of this has already been covered, just some of the factors. And I've worked with past Sister Governor Stan and a few of you others about setting up new clubs. And there's things in there. So everybody pipe in who has an opinion about it. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll tell you that anyway. Factors in a new club you have to consider. Before you do anything, the greatest thing you need to do is you got to find a place where you're going to put a club. I believe, Judy, you said we have, what, 12 counties or something?
19.
How many?
19 counties.
19. So there's 19 clubs divided by 7. That's 3 for each district, right? Okay, no problem. Exactly. Now, Lynn County, Paul, how many clubs in Lynn County? That's Cedar Rapids, by the way.
I think we're at 11.
11, yeah. And he tried to put the 12th one in, and we haven't given up yet, but we got a little work to do there yet. Anyway, first thing you need to say is LCI will tell you, if you look at their website, they'll tell you you need 1,000 people in the town, right? That'll eliminate about 40–50% of the state of Iowa right off the bat. Kansas, probably 50% too. We just don't have a whole lot of towns that are population for, but do look at it. A lot of this information you can get on what they call city data. All you got to do is just type it in, Google it, and all this information will pop up and tell you lots of things about local service club possibilities, project possibilities. That means you're probably going to have some kind of area needs assessment going out there. Who's your competition? Legion, VFW, Rotary, Optimus, Kiwanis, and who knows what else. Plus a lot of service-oriented groups out there. Who's a consideration for doing a sponsoring of the club? Who's going to sponsor the club? Someone commented earlier when we're sponsoring club might be 30 miles away, 40 miles away, 50 miles away. And no one really wants to travel that far. But anyway, you can sponsor it, as we all know. The district can sponsor the club. And we've done it in EC out there. Is there any groups in this community that you kind of narrowed it down that you're not servicing? That's when you got to talk about diversity, you know, old white men. That's what we're sometimes known as, except you young guys. Paul, you don't fall in that category, neither does Eric. But the rest of us, we get close to being old white men out there with gray hair. Look at the diversity within the community. There are areas, and I think we were commenting about Northwest. They were going to put a club in a city that is, or a town that is primarily Hispanic. Never succeeded. And I don't know why it failed. I will find out someday, I'm sure, sooner than later. And where's the county government located? Gosh, wouldn't it be a good idea if you don't have a club at all in the county? Why don't you just put one in the city of Montezuma in the case of Poweshiek County, right? Now, Montezuma does have a club, but no, where's the city government located, or county government located? That's the starting place. Yes, sir?
Along with government, where's the school located?
Exactly. Your district, my district, we have a divided school district, right? Yeah, yeah. Center Point is mine, and Urbana is yours, and they share the same school district. But they have separate clubs. Ours is better than yours, but.
Yours doesn't.
Yeah, but we're working on it. Ours is younger than yours, too. Next slide. Got to build a team. Everybody talked about building teams out there. Everybody that has a passion for Lions can be a team member. But if you need a place to start, obviously District Governor, Nadine, you're falling that category. Dale, you're in that category. Guiding Lions, your prospective guiding Lions that you've thought about. Bring them in. They get to know these individuals. They get to know the community better out there. Sponsoring club. In the case of Anamosa, Monticello is the sponsoring club out there. Doesn't hurt to bring in your district GMT, district GST, and GLT coordinators out there. They're part of it, and they're members of their team put together. Hey, a first vice district governor used to be membership. I can remember that a few years back. They were in charge of membership for the district. Somehow that moved up to the district governor. Second vice district governor. One of the things, I understand, pipe in on this, you and I have done this, but when you're going business to business and not necessarily door to door, but business to business, kind of divide the town up. Maybe you need 2 teams of 2 members each. And if it's a larger area, maybe you need 3 teams or 4 teams actually doing the calling on people. Next. Yes, sir.
That you have a male and female team member going.
Better suggestion.
Better suggestion.
How about you take along a third member that doesn't have a title so they can learn?
Well, you can do that, but you don't really want to overwhelm the people you're calling on. That falls into the category of me, like you're ganging up on them or something like that. But
We don't use our titles, we just let them know that from the district. We don't say.
dress no differently like most of us are here today. So, site recon. In military know exactly what I'm talking about. Community needs assessment is exactly what you're really talking about. What does the community need? And you looking at that community and visiting with the various community leaders within that. They may be business people, they may be politicians, they may be, a number of school leaders, things of that nature. Superintendents, principals, school teachers, police and fire. Always fall on the police chief and the fire department and tell them what you're doing, because people get nervous when they see strangers walking around in the community of Anamosa, and they think they're inmates because we got 1,000. You don't know what Anamosa is. Most of you know what Anamosa is. Eric has, it's a 1,000-person prison. I tried to recruit in there, and it's amazing. I could put 5 or 10 clubs in there. But LCI has a problem with that. Something about ethics, or they get upset about that. Human service agencies, food banks, things of that nature out there. And as I said, business leaders. Concentrate on the business leaders. One, they got the money, hopefully, and you will need that. And the one thing I would ask Dale.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to say too is, like we have a Lions, or we have a pancake, and we get sponsors.
Okay.
There's a great opportunity to ask them to be Lions. They're already contributing to Lions.
Exactly.
And they may be businesses, they may be individuals, they can be anybody. So you get the whole gamut.
Eric.
I just want to add, when you're doing your community needs assessment, and I don't expect this to work in every club, every area, because it is a little bit more technologically advanced. My club actually just did a community needs assessment this last fall. We put it in Google Forms, and we went out with our cell phones, and we didn't mess with the community leaders. We went and knocked on doors, and we asked them to answer just a couple questions. We inputted in there. That way the data was already configured for us. When we got back, we worked with the United Way. They helped us with the community needs assessment.
Right.
And in turn, we found a partnership for a new project because of the community needs assessment.
And that's really what you're looking for before you ever call on any prospective members, although you are calling on potentially, but before you're asking them for lines, basically you're saying, you know, what is the 2 or 3 things in this community that needs to happen, you know, or that you would like to see take place. Now in Cedar Rapids, I can answer that very easily. 650,000 trees need to be planted because they all blew away here 2 years ago. So, but you're going to need a meeting location. We know we're going to be successful putting this club together, you know, and these are just thoughts. There are other places too. Veterans meeting places, Legion clubs, VFW, AMVETS, things of that nature. Camp Dodge down here. I have no idea if you could ever get a meeting room there, but probably could if you had some military people involved. Churches. We use a lot of churches. Community buildings. Most communities have at least one building or one area that is dedicated to community service. What you're really looking for is a place that doesn't charge. And when you get to hotels, they tend to be people who are trying to make a profit. Restaurants, a lot of times. Paul. Exactly. Anamosa, one of the members is, and we were meeting, and they were meeting there for what, 6, 7, 8 months. I didn't think it was the greatest meeting place because it was difficult to hear because you're competing with business and things of that nature. But the guy loved it. He was a member, and since then they have since moved it. But you're going to need a meeting place out there. Promoting the new club. This is before you're still on the street yet. You need to be in some fashion. Now, we don't like Facebook, and the newspapers are dying. You know, even before that, we still communicated. Amazing, isn't it? It really surprising me, you know, before newspapers were invented and all that. But no, seriously, what you need to be looking at, who's doing it, where you're doing it, when, what. If you've got newspaper media or some other fashion. In Fairfax, we used the city council secretary or what, or city administrator. Yeah, and they have a monthly newsletter that goes out. She was a member of the club. Therefore, we got ads in there continuously, and it was easier to build the club. Yeah, Cindy.
We don't have this in our town because we just get a little bill thing that comes out like on a postcard. But there are some towns that send out water and electric bills.
Flyers in it.
Flyers in with the utility. They'll allow you to include information.
Yeah, excellent idea. Pat.
Our Hamburg Lions Club, one of our members that was helping get it is the superintendent of the school. They allow us to send stuff out on the school's website to the whole school district.
All you got to do is ask. In many cases, you know, if there is simply ask. Because Mediacom, which anybody is the big internet provider in a lot of Iowa, and one of the things, they have flyers in there all the time. Unfortunately, for Lions and anybody, they want to charge too, I'm sure of that. But no, find those, there's ways of communicating out there. And whatever happened to, Paul, weren't you face-to-face in sales once upon a time? I think that's a means of communicating. Yeah, yeah, and so was I, David. Yeah, exactly, exactly, face-to-face, and we'll get to that here.
Social media.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a young child, we had social media, it was called a party line.
Exactly. Exactly. We knew everything that was going on. 3 rings, and oh, I wonder what. And if it happened at 10 o'clock at night, everybody was on it.
Mine was too long, so it was short.
Whatever it was. She knew everything. Potential members. We've been over this, you know. Community leaders, friends, relatives, business owners, so forth. Concentrate on I like the idea of concentrating on business owners. out there. Like I said, I'm looking for people doing that. And somewhere along the line, after you've walked the streets and you're going to have an informational meeting. This needs to be known long before you set foot out to call on anybody. Is you're going to have to be prepared. What are you going to talk about when you're there? You know, you're going to have to explain the dues structure. There's nothing any worse than somebody, I didn't know we had to pay. Hey, there's not too many free rides in the world today. Seriously. No, explain, you know. Dale, does veterans have to pay dues? Oh, yeah, oh, I get to join Lions? I mean, I've been paying for 30 years. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, okay, okay. So if I've served 181 days in the military, I don't have to pay the, what, $35, I believe it is, out there. Keep that in mind. Explain that to them. Mention that to people. Some people are quite shocked there, especially veterans, that they don't have to pay it. And veterans' dues.
From experience, that it's very critical because we had some issues several times.
Yeah.
With people that,
Yeah. You got, and I'm a strong believer. I don't care if you lower the dues to $5 a head, you got to collect something the day you're on the streets trying to sign people. Do not come to the meeting because I guarantee you it's not going, it won't happen. You know, it's $5 and you offer to give it back or something. In many cases, this induction fee, in my club, for example, we actually pay it. The club pays that, and so we don't even talk about that. We just talk about, hey, you got to pony up whatever it is, $75 or for a yearly. We bill yearly too. But don't get married to, and I finally convinced them maybe 6 months wouldn't hurt, you know, but there's a lot of people, most of our members are paying dues. Come December, you're going to get a letter that says you owe 120 bucks for the year. Now, people want to, you know, I mean, they'll bill obviously monthly or quarterly or whatever. You need to conduct a meeting in a very professional, and don't go on and on and on like I'm doing right now. But, and, you know, ask for the order. It's time to ask for the order, get the job done, plain and simple, all it amounts to. And those say, well, I didn't bring my checkbook. Yes. Oh, yes.
Be married to someone as long as they reside in the same address.
Exactly. Yep. And there's people who legitimately didn't bring the checkbook. But you got a wallet and a credit card. How many of you, your district, or your, let's just say your clubs, collect by credit card? Yeah, Paul would, because he's under 18 years old. He doesn't even know what George Washington's on a $10 bill, so.
That's Hamilton.
See, he does know what a $10 bill is. Yeah, no, seriously. I have that problem too. Hey, I got to be nice to Paul. He gave me 2 free tickets to the ball game in September, I think, a while ago. Organizational meeting. This is, yes, Jim, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just talk about it, that veteran program that ended in 2021.
The veterans program.
Oh, the veterans, yes, that's true, that's true. Yes, yes, it's been dropped. It is in effect now. Oh, did they drop the veterans program? That I can't answer. I honestly don't know.
They dropped it.
They did.
They did? Okay.
21.
That does it. Wait till I talk to Brian about that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they drop that because there was no initiation dues? You know, so I don't know if they started that back up again since we started initiation.
I don't know. I don't know. That's not, there you go, Eric. Give you a reason to talk to Chicago. Yes, sir. Ma'am. Hey, I was in the Army. We were all sirs, or man, and I had a, she ended up being a general. I still occasionally called her sir. Speak.
So talking about dues and cheese and Paul about the credit cards, our club has a Venmo account, so we allow Venmo payments.
because I don't carry cash, I don't have a check.
Yep.
So we had to walk the club,
Yep.
had to set something up, which we
That's exactly right. Even my club, 102 years old, set up a PayPal account. I about fainted when I heard that. I didn't think Don would ever get the. Right, exactly. Make it easy. Yeah, that's the thing. Always make it easy to take money. Okay, yeah, and so, but anyway, organizational meeting. This is, okay, you got the 25 members or whatever you have out there. I think you need to, first thing you need, now you did this community needs assessment. You need to review that with these individuals, these Alliance members, new members out there. Select 2 or 3. You need at least get them started into a service project if it's as simple as collecting eyeglasses or something like that, or taking a collection up, depending on what part of the year it is, gloves or mittens or things like that for the school, you know, to put in there. Things like that, something that's simple, not overly complicated out there, you know, and set long-term goals, which could be for the year, in this case, of 2 or 3 of those service projects. You start with an initial one. You're going to collect eyeglasses. Then you have one scheduled for 6 months from now, and maybe one toward the end of the year. Get them used to the idea of the service projects. That's what Lions is all about. People learn better with face-to-face training. People learn better. I learned to be a zone chair by osmosis. Everybody know what osmosis is? That's where you just kind of sit there and it just kind of absorbs into you. We have too much of that training going on. Every district's guilty. I'll tell you that right now. You want to know why you have trouble getting zone chairs? That's exactly part of the reason, is because we don't do adequate training. How do you be a club secretary? Now, Paul's been a club secretary since Christ was a corporal, I think, but not quite that long. But no, seriously, and rotating officers, when we all get old and tired, we get tired of doing the same service project. We can't do it anymore. Therefore, you need to be rotating people in with new blood. You got to get the young people doing it. And for heaven's sakes, you got to get women into the organization because they do a better job than we as men do. No doubt in my mind about that out there. No. Part of the organizational meeting, you got to have a president, you got to have a treasurer, you got to have a secretary, you got to have hopefully a vice president. Membership chair, I really emphasize, you continue recruiting. Somebody talked about setting up branch clubs. I hate branch clubs. You know what happens to branch clubs? They become little clubs themselves because we don't push them hard enough. Your club was my year. Mike handed it off to me. He had a branch club there of 14 or 12. I don't remember what the numbers were anymore. But I think I was at their club meetings more than I was at my own club meetings, simply because, hey, you got to get more in it. You got to keep pushing. Because if you let it go on, I'll tell you what will happen is they become a club of 8 members or 5 members, and we all know what happens to 5 and 8 member clubs over time. Eventually they fall apart. One of the strongest Linus clubs is in Wilton. Where? Durant, that's right. Durant. How many members they got, Paul? You probably made a club visit. I don't know. I did, I know. Oh, well, the Linus Club could not be part of the Lions, yeah. But anyway, at the time I was there, and this is 6, 7 years ago, they had 60-something members. Their dues were $25. And we were not successful in converting them over. Never happened. Some clubs did, but we weren't. And then when we tried to put a men's club in there, we ended up with a branch club of 8 or how many? At 9. How is that club doing today, Paul?
They are gone.
They are long gone. That's because they became a club of 8 or 9 members and they never survived. Yes?
Once the Lioness Club decided to, well, they went away, they became a community club.
Community club.
And they said, oh, our dues are only $20.
Yeah, yeah.
And they went to community club.
Money should not be a reason, but it gets used a lot. But yes, that's true. But
But, like you said, we started the race club, the district has to keep their commitment. The walking club, it took 3 district governors from the time we started the race club till charter night.
yeah.
We had a member at every meeting for 2 years to get him to the charter night, and I spent another 2 years with him as the guiding lion. But like Jerry said, that club only made it because the district kept it there.
You've got to stay on it. I don't care who the next district governor is and all that. And Mike handed it to me, Mike Fuller, he handed it off to me, and I was able to push it over, I don't know what the initial chartering was, over 20 anyway. I think it was like 25 or something like that. Very strong club today out there. You have to. And you got to keep recruiting members. I don't care if you recruited 50, you can always, there's room for 51 out there. Mistake. Stan, you and I both made it. Anamosa. Chartered, what was the date? Over a year ago. October. Okay, we're close. We're now going to have a charter banquet or whatever, or charter night, at the end of this month, next Sunday. That was a mistake. Stan and I should never have allowed that to happen. I'll take credit for it, and he will too. Yeah, okay, yes.
District is that we have a requirement of a club must charter between 90 and 120 days. You know, I mean, this club, was chartered in October, and we're only having it on the 27th. Right. Primarily, we let the club call the shots on that. They moved backwards and forth because they didn't think they had enough money in their kitties to support a charter night. Then when they decided they had, then they were in competition with school graduations and weddings and everything else.
We can always find reasons to put things off. Right. Yeah, you got to, if you're going to have a charter night, you have to. Yes, Cindy. You keep thinking. We'll get back to it out there. But you need to establish a charter night. Absolutely. And you do that early on, and it's going to happen. And you work with whoever, there's a process you all go through, and you pull it up on the international website. Any questions, comments? It's all yours. It's a very simple little process out there. Uh-oh.
Avalanche Club. Think about that, that year ago was, I think I had 56 members of the Muscle Team Club. You got when we charter. I was president again of the club. It was a pretty good year. We did stuff and all that. Could we have a club excellence award? No, but I lost members. Because I lost members, we actually chartered a club. So
the nice thing now with Club Excellence is they changed it to where you can charter that branch club. So yeah, so that's the nice part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so there was, but people haven't, you lost members. You didn't really lose members, you gave the club the district.
Yeah. I haven't said this will make Nadine feel really good, because I had a member at Coe College wants to meet with me about a campus club, which we had there several years ago. So I'll tell you more about it later. But whether it happens or not, we'll see.
Helping clubs in your area, did you charter another club? How's that club doing?
Yeah.
You help charter, help them continue to be a club.
Exactly. You got guiding lines there. I don't know how often Stan goes up there. I've been there 3 or 4 times at least. You missed 2 meetings. Keep working with them, and you got to keep nudging them along, a little, nudging, pushing, shoving, adding members. Anybody else? Other comments? Doug?
Want to talk to these people, and they said, why should I be aligned? What are you going to do for me?
Well, if it's the attitude of what are you going to do for me, I have a little problem with that kind of a statement. But no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, why should I pay dues to volunteer? Anybody got a good answer for that?
What does Lions going to bring to this community?
Right.
What do we need to run here for?
If you do the assessment of the community before with the business leaders, school superintendents, so forth, so on, you hopefully can say, well, we're going to add, I'll just take Cedar Rapids, we're going to rebuild trees over the next 10 years at the rate of 60,000 a year or whatever it is out there. So.
Those are questions that your team needs to answer in your district.
Before you go to the
ever
street.
get there, you need to be the devil's advocate, because answering the question of why do I need to be aligned, why do I pay to serve? You need to answer that question. You need to answer it for yourself and help those around you answer that question. So it's just a suggestion.
So one of the things that we've gone into or whatever, when you talk to somebody, for the Lions Club, well, Lions will bring to you for a community. Lions is a group of community people serving that community. Yep. What, as a Lion, what we can bring you is a structure for your club operating. We give you some tools, things like
Leadership training.
We will improve your community.
a group of community people coming together to serve your community. And we'll give you a structure to do it.
As my old Mark.
Jerry, do we have any specialty clubs in Iowa as it would be after
Do we? I don't know of any. And I'd like somebody to teach me how to do a specialty club. Yeah.
Our Postville Club, and as most of you know, Postville probably has more diversity
Yeah.
than any other community state. That club is in the process right now of developing specialty clubs for every ethnic group in that community.
There you go.
So hopefully, we'll have 3 or 4 ethnic specialty clubs in Postville. They might not be all full clubs to start with, but there'll be branches to build on. So, you gotta look at things like that, or we're also looking in at John Deere, it's awfully big in Cedar Falls and Waterloo. We're looking, going into the John Deere specific buildings for clubs.
In 9 North Central in Allison, where our new hearing aid coordinators come from, we're working on a motorcycle club.
Any other comment? Okay, our lunch today again is free will donation, all the money goes to the foundation. Melanie Parker has been nice enough to provide us with our meal today. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
All ready to go over there. If you don't cut them off, they're still talking after you've gone home. Oh, my God. Okay, we got everybody back? Am I on here? Okay. Oh, okay, good. That works. Who else are we missing? We get everybody back yet? Kind of looks like it. Okay, so how did you do in your sessions? Good? Solved all your world problems? You're going to be up by 200 next year, right? In July?
We will be positive. We will be positive.
we're all positive either that we wouldn't be in the room if we weren't. But yeah, that's a good attitude to have. Good attitude to have. Okay, we're going to go over our last step of today. Whomever has the keeper of the sheets that you've all got, that you wrote down all your notes on, if you scan them in or whatever and send me a copy of one of them, if they've got notes or stuff on it, I would appreciate it. Brian is going to go over our last step today, and that's going to be our Rex going on the procedures, how the reimbursement is going to work as far as that goes. The one thing I would like to see, how many of you would be interested in going outside your district and helping out in other areas? Show of hands. Outstanding. Whole room. Gosh, let's rent a bus. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it, but in a very rare occasion, and I don't know that it's ever happened in the Midwest, LCI will, when you have a district that repeatedly goes on without leadership and a district government and things like that, LCI will select someone or request someone to handle a district in its transition until we get it back on its feet. And past council chair Terry Durham has been selected by LCI to handle Northwest as we try to rebuild it. And he was very instrumental in getting the district governor that we have up there right now. But unfortunately, Jim Gill, I mean, he's trying very hard and he's making club visit. He only had about 3 months to transition into being a DG. So we still have a lot of work to do up there. And it's going to take an army to go up there and rebuild, you know. And like I said, 19 counties, and they're all over the state. Yeah. Okay? All right, Brian?
Okay, I'm recording this, and you can turn that one off. So, let me bring this up. I meant to print it, lost track of my mind. It will come out with a document that all the stuff from today you guys will get, as well as the recording and so forth. But let me just read through it, and then you can kind of take some notes and ask questions. So here's what I said. So this is the expense reimbursement procedure. Leaders, builders, trainers, educators, and facilitators of activities involving rebuilding and rejuvenating clubs will provide a monthly report of their activities to their district GMT and to the MD9 GMT within 1 week following the previous month activities. The reason for that is we need to hold ourselves accountable. And we need you to do it to your district and to the MD9 because we need to know what's going on statewide, okay? So the list of things that we'd like in the report, and I don't have a form, you just need to come up with all of these things. So we'd like to know the list of events attended where training and or education was presented. We'd like to know the location of the event, including the address, the number of attendees with a listing of names of any officers present, a description of any outcomes from the event, and a plan for follow-up and next steps. Now that can be as simple or complicated as you want to put it, but that's the kind of information we want. Again, this will come out in an email from Judy. The report needs to be submitted along with any request for reimbursement of expenses if reimbursement of expenses is desired. And as a service and humanitarian organization, we ask that all requests for reimbursement be done in good faith, consistent with the purposes and ethics of Lions International. So we're basically, I'm sort of euphemistically saying, don't try to get rich off of this. All right? Expense reimbursement. So we have two different levels here. So we have expense reimbursement for activities inside your district. And then we have those for outside, where you may go inter-district, between districts. So expenses for mileage, lodging, meals inside a district must have the approval of the district GMT and the district governor. So if you have a list of expenses, and you know our rules of audit say it's 50 cents a mile for mileage, I think it's $85 for a hotel, and it's $35 for food or something for the day. You need to get that signed off on by your GMT and your DG before you submit it to anybody.
Which GMT, which?
Your district.
Oh, okay.
This is in your district. And these, so if it's specific to your district. So if it's a 9SE and I'm going to do something in 9SE, then I'm working, because I'm in 9SE, and it's focused on 9SE, I'm going to go through, we're asking all the districts to have skin in the game in their budgets. That's been talked about with the district governors. So these expenses will be submitted to the district secretary treasurer or secretary or treasurer, depending on how your district's set up for reimbursement. Expense will be per the rules of audit. I mentioned, and any other district policies is applicable. So I don't know what your district policies might be. That's up to your cabinet. Typical activities that might be eligible for expense would include district-wide training events in district, visits to club and or zone meetings where the exclusive purpose of the visit is for rebuilding and or rejuvenating a club or zone following the GMA approach or global membership approach. Other GMA events in district as may be deemed eligible by the district cabinet. So that's all in district. Again, if it's in district, your district needs to have a budget for that. Okay, and I've already talked to 9SC, and I know a number of our district governors have talked to their cabinets about that. Now, outside of district, expenses for mileage, lodging, just outside of district. So Terry goes to 9 Northwest because he's not in Northwest, and he's going to help set up a zone meeting training for this. We need approval of the district governor of that district and the MD9 GMT and the council chairperson. So I have 3 levels of approval because we want to know what's going on. We want people to know, hey, these are expenses that are coming through across the state. This is money that would be reimbursed by the state as well. It's not going to the district. So the district governor is involved because we need to know that you were authorized to leave the state to do something. And the MD9 GMT needs to know about it because he's probably looking at it, and of course the council chair. So maybe we can relax that a little, but that's what we're saying. So they'd be submitted to the council secretary after they've got those approvals for reimbursement, and the reports have to be submitted with those. We're not gonna reimburse anything without a report. You don't have to ask for reimbursement. We still want the reports though. Reimbursement requests without required approvals reports will be rejected. All expenses per the policy manual. Again, typical activities might be statewide training events outside of home district. So this would be eligible for something like that, okay? Visit to club or zone meetings where the exclusive purpose is visit, rebuilding, rejuvenating, so that's again outside your district. So if Terry goes to
East Overshoe.
yeah, what is it?
East Overshoe, Iowa.
East Overshoe, Iowa to Stu Glover, whatever he's doing over there. And again, the other GMA events outside of home district as may be deemed eligible by the MD9 GMT, which is Doug Welton. Okay? So again, we're just trying to put a little bit of definition on the purse strings. And for so many years in MD9, everything kind of got submitted to the secretary without any other approvals, and we want to make sure we cleared that up in the last policy manual update, but that's kind of what this is for today too. So now for the committee, and this rebuilding committee sort of is really kind of fading back because the GAT team is taking over from here on out. But for this committee, which we have a representative from each district, all requests for expense reimbursement from the MD9 Rebuilding Committee should be submitted to the council chair, which is Nancy, who will review, approve, and submit to the secretary. So what we're trying to do is before it gets to Judy or Kathy, it has the required approvals. Because they don't know what to do. They don't know if it's okay.
I don't want a bunch of stuff coming into Kathy and I, and the DGs are not aware of it, and the council chair is not aware of it.
Yeah.
The money that we've allocated for this belongs to all our members, so let's be careful.
We have allocated at a state level, the district governors voted to allocate in the budget $15,000 to help cover reimbursement. So that's at the statewide. That does not cover what's going on in your districts, all right? So I know in 9SE, we talked about it at the first cabinet meeting. We thought, well, we'll wait and see, and we'll make a budget adjustment when we get closer to needing requests for reimbursement. So this will, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Brett, the one thing I would add to that is he's talking about what it takes to get reimbursed after. I highly suggest before you go, contact the state GMT and the council chair and make sure you know going into it that if I do this, they agree that this is an authorized expense. Don't turn it in and blindside them and then have to come back and say, well, what I didn't know about it, well, that's not covered. do your homework ahead of time so you know what's going on, and then they know what's going on in the area. I know they would greatly appreciate knowing ahead of time what you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah, and if you're gonna try to cover your USA Canada Forum expenses on this, no way. Right? So this is focused on GMA, this is focused in the state of Iowa, and if you're in your district doing something under the guise of what your GAT team says in your district, then it's a district issue. If you're coming to these statewide events, you're crossing state boundaries to perform activities, that's part of the state. So we're trying to cover it so people don't have to bear the burden just because they can't afford it. So some people may choose not to reimburse. Thank you for your generosity. That's fine, but we still want the reports. We want to put this together, and we want to have regular meetings set up to look at these things. Go ahead, Judy.
I know this question is going to come up, so I'm going to ask it before the foundation presidents have asked again. If they choose not to take the reimbursement, can their dollars qualify for Warren Coleman towards a personal donation?
I think in our previous there's a stipend for vice district governors to attend council meetings, and they could have that go towards a Warren Coleman. I don't see a reason why they couldn't do that. They just need to mark that on their reimbursement form. I don't want the cash, goes to my Warren Coleman.
Because normally, as foundation trustees, we vote on that kind of thing.
We will vote on the next trustee meeting.
Yeah, so presuming that it's gonna be okay, that's what's been done in the past.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, so it still goes through the same process though, and Judy she keeps track of that,
Just
so.
put WCA on the bottom.
Yeah,
So I know
so we'll clarify that when this goes out with the rest of the documents. Again, we really want everybody, mostly what we want is those reports in whatever format you can come up with. And we're not gonna be like the first time you send it and it was an email and you only answered half the questions. That's okay. We may ask some follow-up questions of you, but we need to get this accountability piece going. Yeah, Pat.
I got a question for Gary. We've not been in district government for a few years now. I know at the international level, back when I was district governor, we could identify up to 4 clubs for rebuilding purposes or problem clubs, and I know those rules have probably changed. But there are certain ways that the districts can identify some rebuilding clubs and get some additional funding for international. Do you know what those current rules are? Or?
So unfortunately, I'm gonna say unfortunately I do not. And that is where Jerome was gonna come in today, because I have not done all the training on all the grants available.
Okay.
What I will do is I will have Jerome touch base with you.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, some of it is when you turn in your mileage expense, you will allow on certain clubs extra visits.
Yes.
So that's what we just need to get what those current rules are, so the district governors all understand that they can have additional visits and some of the, but as was mentioned before, they're only gonna cover one person. So if the district governor goes, they're the ones that are gonna get the reimbursement or whatever.
The district governor appoints someone to go to that club for
Then it goes. But I believe it went down to 2.
Yeah, so that's why we just need to know what those current rules are, because they change every year and stuff, so there's other resources that clubs or districts may be able to use.
I don't think we want to be in a position under any circumstances, whether it's district or state dollars, that you don't make a trip because the funds are not there. Okay? At least have the, reach out when we get there. Do you have a question, Paul?
Okay, later, okay.
Anything else?
And I just updated this to say, activities reimbursement can be traded for credit for Warren Coleman, credit if desired and noted on form.
But then we'll take a vote at the next trustee meeting. Trustees will vote.
Yeah.
Eric, any closing comments for us now that you have a mouthful of ice cream?
Here, speaking of.
Thanks, Ivy.
That was like a true server. Excuse me. As we close, I just want to, I again want to thank you for for taking time out of your Saturday for coming and driving across the state to spend the day here so that you guys can start working on rebuilding Iowa. Again, thank you for the hospitality and having me in-house today. I will get Jerome. PID Jerome does send his regards. He was hoping to be here today, but unfortunately he fell ill this week, so he needed to stay home and rest. But he does send his regards, and he is sorry that he was unable to attend. Again, as we close, I'm a resource. Don't hesitate to reach out. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to find someone to get you the answer for you, okay? That's the purpose of this position. I'm not going to, I'll bug Judy, if I need to. But my job is to help you guys succeed. So just be on the lookout for my newsletters. I send those out once a month. I try to cram as much information in there as possible for you all so that everyone is on the same page. And again, thank you for your hospitality.